Welcome to Lesson 7. I hope you're enjoying your harp lessons and having a lot of fun. We're going to talk about crossovers and cross-unders first during this lesson. The crossover is used fairly often, and it's when you need to continue a run and you don't have enough fingers. So you're coming down the line and you don't have enough fingers, but you have some more notes. It's kind of like a scale on the piano where you have to cross over or cross under. And the first one we're going to talk about is the crossover. So you have all four fingers placed on this high C, and G is your fourth finger. You're going to come down one at a time, put them away. Before you let go of that last note, you're going to cross over with your thumb to the F, play the last note, and then continue on with that next run. Let's try that again. Make sure your thumb is up nice and high. Cross over, play your last note, and continue on. Okay, now, the whole idea is so you won't have to look at your harp as much. So we're going to do this with our eyes closed. You should be able to feel the distance between there and function fine with your eyes closed. Let's try it. Okay, here we go. C, E, put that thumb over. Able to do it? You can try that as many times as you'd like until you have the feel for the crossing over. Now we're going to try the cross-unders. Cross-unders happen when you're moving up the harp. So it's going to be the same situation. Your fourth finger is going to be on the C or whatever note you need to be playing, and your thumb will be on the F. You're going to go C, D, E. Before you play that F, you're going to place your fourth finger on that G and continue on up the line. Let's try that again. C, D, cross under nice and low so your fingers have room. That's all there is to that, and you can try it and try it with your eyes closed if you'd like. Practice it as many times as you need. Now we're going to try a crossover with just 3 notes left to play. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Same situation. Coming up, it would be a cross under. Well, you'd use your third finger. Let's try that again. The crossover would be going down. 1, 2, 3. Coming up. Third finger this time. Probably the most common crossover is the one where you only need to play 2 more notes at the end. So you're only going to have 2 fingers to cross over. So you're going to start on your C again. C, B, A, cross over. And that's all. Try that again. Now coming up, it'll be a little bit more difficult because you have to think just your second finger and your first finger. Try that again. C, D, cross under, plenty of room down there. One more time. Remember to play this last note before you go ahead and play your other hand. Place way down low. That's all there is to it. I have a little practice page here of crossovers and unders, and it's called No Peeking because I want you to play it once and then practice it with your eyes closed. Now you're starting way up here on this high C, so you're just going to continue on down. Cross over and then cross over and then cross over all the way down to a lower note down below. So you can keep taking that on down as far as your harp goes. And you really don't have to follow these notes. It would just be doing this over and just keep going on down until you get to the end of your harp. If you're using a smaller harp, you won't have to practice as long. Okay, and then the cross under is the same way. You might want to start on your very last note down and do the same thing, and do these with both hands. Try it with your left hand and try it with your right hand. You'll probably find your left hand is a little more clunky when you're trying it, especially if you aren't very good at doing things with your left hand like I am. Some people complain about their right hand not wanting to hit the right note, so you can practice as much as you like on that and then try it with your eyes closed. It's kind of fun. Simple Gifts is our first song of this lesson, and it's an old Quaker song. It's in 4/4 time, and it starts on the 4th count, so it's 4 and then there's 3 at the end to make up for that. I've placed a repeat here, a backward repeat, and I wouldn't actually have had to put the forward repeat on there, but sometimes you see it on there even though it's not really necessary. So we're going to repeat this whole song. We might not do that during the lesson, but when you're practicing it, you can repeat the whole song. There are some crossovers, at least one crossover and one cross under here. So when you're practicing, be sure you remember to do those. Also, I have a little asterisk down here. It says switching fingers when repeating a note. Sometimes when you're playing the same note, like this, over and over again, harp teachers will have you use different fingers instead of using the same finger over and over again. Sometimes that's necessary and sometimes it isn't. It kind of helps it not buzz as much. I think on lower notes it's done. And it's also a little faster action. So if the notes are very, very fast notes, if you play it with different fingers, it helps you do it more quickly. But in this case, we're just going to use our second finger. So I just wanted you to know that in case you want to use it for future songs. So go ahead and practice this as many times as you need to. Let's play Simple Gifts together now. There's 4 counts in a measure and it starts on the 4th count. So I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, ready, play. And there is a 4th finger slide in there. Did you find it? Okay, we're going to do this song slowly. Here we go. 4th finger, 3rd finger on C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, ready, play. Crossover. It's time to talk about chords. Chords are something you're going to be using a lot. So let's get started with the chords. The first chord, and probably the most common chord, is C. Now a chord is made up of 3 notes, which are called a triad. Every other string, C, E, and G, that's a chord. 3's a chord. There's even a book called 3's a Chord by Ray Poole. You can put the octave on it if you want, and go ahead and put the other C at the top. And that's using all 4 of your fingers. Usually you make a roll chord out of that. But C, E, G is a chord. Any combination of every other note in a 3 pattern is a chord, and we're going to talk about that. So you have, here's your notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That is your C scale. Your chord is the 1st, which is C, the 3rd, which is E, and the 5th, which is G. Each one has a name, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd degree, 4th degree, 5th degree, 6th, 7th, and the octave. So a chord is made up of the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. It's a triad, it's a chord. Now, You can invert C chord in any way that you wish for your song, as long as it's got those 3 notes in it. You can have it C, E, G. You can put the C on top and keep the E and G there, or you can put the C and E both on top and keep the G there. Any one of those positions is still C chord as long as it has C, E, and G in it. Okay? Those are called inversions. In root position, it is C, E, G. Root position. First inversion is what I just showed you. You take the C, put it on top, and leave the E and G there. So you have E, G, and C. That's first inversion. Second inversion, you take the C and E both and move them up, leave the G there. You have G, C, and E. That is second inversion. All 3 of those are still C chord. Now I've got a line down here for you to practice. All of them are C chord, and they're just different inversions. And it's really good if you get familiar with the different inversions, because as you add chords to your melody line, you will need to use the inversions, because you don't want part of the chord to be above the line that you sing. So if you don't invert the chord and put the rest of it on the bottom below the melody, it won't sound like the same song. One of the other chords you're going to use often is F chord. Now F scale has a B flat in it. So when you play, that sounds wrong, and it is wrong because you have to have a B flat. Now you might not have levers on your harp, and that's okay, because in order to play an F scale, you don't need to play the B. F is the first, A is the third, C is the fifth. F, A, C. So you don't need that B, and you don't need to make your B's flat to play the chords. So you have the first, the third, and the fifth, which is F, A, and C. There they are in all their different inversions. And here they are again. F, A, C, A, C, F, C, F, A. Same thing as C chord. You can invert that any way that you need to. Now most of the time in your bass clef, you can leave the chord in root position because it's not messing with your melody. So you can go ahead and play your melody with your right hand and just play chords in the root position. And this works very well if you have a difficult bass line that you don't have time to learn for something, or if you just want to play chords to add to the bass line. So either one of those works fine. And you can practice these F chords. The whole bottom line is F chords. G chord is another popular chord. C, F, and G seem to be the most used chords of all. Now G scale has an F sharp in it, but there again, the F sharp is on the 7th, so you're not going to use that when you're playing your chord. You're going to be playing the first, which is G, the third, which is B, and the fifth, which is D. G chord. G, B, D. Okay? There they are. G, B, D, B, D, G. They're inverted there. And then you can always put the octave on the top. So you can have the first, the third, the fifth, and the octave if you want to. Okay. There is G chord in the root position. There is G chord in the first inversion. And then you have G chord in the second inversion. And if you look at these patterns, you'll notice piggybacks. Anytime that a chord is in root position, all 3 notes will be piggybacked. If it's in first inversion, the 2 notes on the bottom will be piggyback and there'll be a space before the last one. If it's in second inversion, it'll be just the opposite, with the note at the bottom, then a space, then piggyback. So that's the pattern you'll see with all the chords. It's good to practice those so you'll be familiar with G chord and its inversions. The next chord is D minor. D minor chord is D, F, and A. Now all these chords I've showed you so far can be played on a harpsichord with no levers, because like I said, the sharp or the flat is not in the chord itself. So as long as you don't have to play the note that has that incidental on it, you'll be fine. D minor does not have an F sharp in it. If you're playing D major chord, it does have an F sharp, but D minor does not. So we have D, F, and A here. There's the inversions of D minor chord. Root first and second inversion. E minor chord. Again, it's just every other note, E minor chord. Now the regular E major chord has a G sharp in it. But this is E minor. You don't need any sharps and flats for that one. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. A minor chord is A, C, E. If you were playing A major, you would need a C sharp. You're not, so A minor is A, C, E. You have root, first inversion, second inversion. Okay, and here are a couple lines of chord practice. And these are all the chords mixed up that we've talked about. So that should be really good for your fingers and your brain. We're going to learn the Skyboat song now. This is a traditional old song, and I have given your left hand chords to play. So I suggest that you play your right hand first, get your placing down and your notes familiarized, and then go back and play your left hand separately. Practice each hand by itself until you're comfortable with it, and then put the two hands together. This is in 3/4 time. There is no pickup note, and you do have a chord on the first count of each measure. So you won't have to be counting too much to remember when to put your chord in. Some of the chords have ledger lines, but if you paid attention during the chord segment, you can see, if you know what that bottom one is, that those are piggyback, so it's every other string. So actually, all you have to do is read that bottom note, and you know the other two will be every other string above it. So I kind of gave you a hint there. Not all of them are in root position. And again, you can see that right off the bat because there's a space there and a space there. And another one there. So just look that over, practice it a little bit. The fingering isn't particularly hard. Notice I did not put the brackets in there. I do want you to be getting used to not having the brackets. So practice it a while and then we'll play it. The Skyboat song is our next tune. It's in 3/4 time, and I've given your left hand chords to play during this song since we just learned all those lovely chords. Most of them are in root position, so you just put your hand up there, 3, 2, and 1, and pop that chord off, making sure your hand goes back low into your palm. Okay, there are a few that are not in root position, so just make sure that you're playing the right form of the chord. The right hand has some placing, but I didn't put the brackets on this time because I want you to be familiar with just the fingering and no brackets. This song has 4 pages, so we're going to go over the other 2 also. There's a tie right here. Play that note once, count it out for the 2 measures. Your left hand does go ahead and play its chord. It does not have a tie. Okay, now we have page 3 and 4 here. And you have a chord in your right hand, and you do that the same way that we talked about on the chord part. The song continues on, and at the end, you have a note here at the beginning, one of the chords, just like you've been playing, and it is tied to the next measure. So you only play that chord one time. When you have a tie, each note has to have that tie line on it. If just one of them did, then you would just hold that note and play the other 2. So when you're having a tie for a whole chord, all 3 of those notes have to have the tie line on them. There's another note on the second count for your right hand, and it is tied into the next measure. So you're going to play this note along with your chord, and then this note with your right hand, and then that's the end of the song. You just count out the rest of those measures. Also, there's a DC al fine, which means you go back to the beginning and play till you get to the word fine or fine, and that's on the end of the second page. So go ahead and go over this song several times and then we'll play it together. We are ready to play the Skyboat song. Remember, it's in 3/4 time, and you have to repeat the first 2 pages after you get to the end. So we're going to play it slowly, and I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. Start on your 3rd and 2nd finger with a chord on your left hand. So nice hand position, nice straight wrist, and let's begin. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. Back to the beginning. Very good. Our next song is Oh Danny Boy or Londonderry Air. You can call it either one, and it's a traditional Irish piece. This song starts on a pickup note or pickup measure, and it starts on and, for, and. And the last of that is over here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Again, we're letting your left notes play some chords, so you'll get used to playing left note chords. Your right hand has some bracketing and crossovers. There's a couple of crossovers. I don't see any cross unders, but there are a couple of crossovers, so beware of that. It's 3 pages long. There are no repeats. So practice it, and then we'll play it together. We're ready to play Danny Boy together now. We're going to take it slowly, and remember you have a pickup measure, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, and then you're going to come in on and, 4 and. I've also written the letter names of the chords above the staff so that if you're accompanied by a guitar or a piano, they can follow along with the music and you can play a duet with them. Okay, let's get our fingers set up, chord on the bottom, and get ready to play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Very good. Roll chords are what makes the harp sound like the harp. Everyone likes to hear this type of music. Anytime you have more than two notes together, you play them as a roll chord, usually. Now, if you're playing a march or a very fast song, then you wouldn't do that. You would play them like we have been playing them in our past lessons. The roll chord is denoted by this little wiggly line on the notes. Now, like I said, most of the time they don't put those on there, and it's just assumed that you're going to play roll chords. Some people play roll chords more than other people. I personally like them in my music, especially the slower songs. So we're going to practice the roll chord. Now, this is a technique that you're going to need a little practice on. It doesn't just happen overnight. So, you have your chord, C chord, we'll start with a C chord, and the idea is to just roll it off like that, almost together, but not quite. We'll start with just 3 in the chord. So, what you're going to do is practice playing them like this, as an arpeggio, or a broken chord, and then just get faster and faster and faster and faster until it just rolls off. Now, probably what you'll do, you'll play 2 and 1, and 1 and 2, and and it'll just be kind of coming and going and not very consistent. That's perfectly normal, and eventually you'll get it right every time. Your hand just gets accustomed to that, and that's what you do. And you do that on all your chords, and it's a lot of fun, and it makes your music sound nice. When you've perfected the 3-note roll chord, then you add that 4th note in there, and you get a much fuller sound. You can do 3 on the bottom and 4 on the top. You can do 4 on the bottom and 4 on the top. Now you have to kind of skip some notes in there, or invert it if you're going to put 4, because you'll run into yourself on the same string, and that doesn't work too well. So we're going to start with 3 notes on these roll chords. And I have several examples here of, this is all C chord, and I have some 4 with the full octave on top, and I have some that are 3, and they're all the different inversions. It's easier to do a roll chord in root position than it is to mix it up, because your fingers just kind of automatically go there, and you have to think a little before you get the right spot for the other inversions. But you'll get it, you just have to practice just a little bit. And the chords are there. Here's F chord, G chord, A chord, and inversions of those chords, well, those are the full chords, C chord, F chord. Just practice rolling all of these chords. Now, at first, you're going to be very slow. That's going to be your roll chord, probably. And then you'll be, trying to get it like that. Or you'll hit 2 here and 1 there. That's okay. A little practice and you'll be surprised how far you'll come. So just practice these pages with the roll chords and be patient. Be very patient. We're going to use the Merry Widow Waltz as our roll chord practice tune. It's a classical song and it's very well known. It's in 3/4 time and it's in waltz rhythm. Most waltzes are in 3/4 time. So you go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can just picture yourself waltzing around the floor to this beautiful piece. Okay, sometimes both hands are playing a roll chord, and when you do that, you start from the bottom and roll all the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the way it would sound. Only a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It goes very fast. But when you're first learning, it'll be more like this. But you start from the bottom. You don't play them both at the same time because you get more roll if you start from the bottom and come all the way up. So, okay. So that's what your aim is for this song. The other notes are in there. It's not a very difficult song. However, it is 4 pages long. There's a tie here on your right hand, but your left hand has a note. So you'll go ahead and play that left hand note. Let me switch to the 3rd and 4th page real quick. We'll run over those a little bit. Okay. On the third page, you notice that you have an 8 VA for your left hand. Your right hand's playing up high enough so that your left hand can come up a whole octave and still not interfere with your right hand. And it's really pretty when you move your left hand up closer to your right hand. It sounds very nice. But that only lasts till you get to there. Notice the little down line there. That's the end of your 8 VA for your left hand. Then this is similar to the beginning. You got a tie on your right hand, but not on your left hand. Continue on with your waltz rhythm. And then the end, you have another tie on your right hand, but not on your left hand. Be careful with these chords. They are not all in root position. So you're going to have to figure out what the chord is and then practice the roll chord. Again, I would suggest that you practice your right hand first, get the melody down, practice those chords with just your right hand, then practice your left hand by itself, and then put the whole song together. And if you need to do it a piece at a time, that's okay. Just practice a few measures, and then practice those again and again, and then continue on through the song. Sometimes this is a good way to learn a song also. So you go ahead, take all the time you need to practice, and then we'll play it together. Now we're ready to play the beautiful Merry Widow Waltz with our roll chords. Remember, if you don't have your roll chords exactly perfect, that's okay. It takes a while to get those. You do have to finish them in the allotted time value of the note. So if you have a half note, you have to get that roll chord in the 2 counts. All 6 parts of it, all 3 notes on each hand. So if you can't do that, that's okay. Just do the best you can. You can always practice on these and come back and play the video again later. Okay, let's begin. Get our chords all nice and set up for the first note. I'm going to give us a 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. Excellent. I'd like to play the Merry Widow Waltz again on the small harp, the special edition harpsichord that I have. I wanted you folks that have small harps to be able to play along with me on a harp your own size here, although you can play along on the larger harp too. So we're going to do this again, and I'm going to give you the same count as I did before. All right, let's begin. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. Very nice. Congratulations, you've completed another lesson. We'll see you next time for more exciting harp adventures.